Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today, from the AP, judge clears the way for release of special counsel Smith's report on Trump's 2020 election case. And as everyone knows, the Establishment Uni-party, working alongside the Democrats and the media, as well as Trump detractors, all worked together to try to convince everyone that Donald Trump was a one-dimensional villain and they were going to stop at nothing. And the timing was hardly a coincidence for all these things to happen. The classified documents, the hush money, 𝐀𝐦𝐚𝐳𝐨𝐧 and the fraud case, these are less than coincidental. The Justice Department can publicly release special counsel Jack Smith's investigation report on President-elect Donald Trump's 2020 election interference case, a federal judge said Monday in the latest ruling in a court dispute over the highly anticipated document days before Trump is set to reclaim the White House. This is all set in a timing. It is a charade, as everyone knows, and I am glad our fellow Americans saw through the nonsense. And, of course, going so far, I wonder if they're going to talk about the fact that the FBI brought props to stage the infamous Trump crime scene. And these were some of the props they used, these little secret document things that they laid on the floor. And, of course, Donald Trump had them locked up per the instruction of the FBI, and they just went in there and took those out. I thought there were some additional photos here showing, the big displayed out props they used for that. But nonetheless, this is so critically important, and I may pause this from time to time because according to, we have to follow YouTube's rules when it comes to the terms of service and so forth when it comes to fair use. So I may stop this from time to time because it is from a Forbes video here on YouTube. But this is so pivotal. This is what the American people know. They just haven't heard it because the mainstream media will not play it. And this is the way it genuinely unfolds. And this is why I keep face palming and eye rolling and just irritated and annoyed, because this is the way the law is supposed to work as it is outlined right here. Every single element of what we just talked about for the last 4 years is outlined right here in this video.
I never did practice in New York. I also have practiced in federal court, and I've practiced in state court and passed several bar exams as well. Judge Wilson, what's the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor in New York?
1 year.
When was this? What is the business records case is a misdemeanor, correct?
The underlying crime, the falsifying business records, yes, that's a misdemeanor charge.
So the only way to get to a felony is by committing it, or is by in concealment of another crime.
Correct.
And each one of those crimes has specific elements.
That's right.
And you have to prove, in order to get a conviction at trial, you have to prove every element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt, right? That's
beyond a reasonable doubt. So they had to elevate the misdemeanor to a felony, right? What they call a furtherance of evidence. In other words, they had to illustrate, or the judge and the court in New York had to illustrate that there was a furtherance of a crime, that there was an actual crime committed. That never happened. That was the assumption that they were working with. That was how they were able to elevate it to a felony.
just traditionally how this works.
That is the right way to do it.
So in the indictment, did they put the underlying crime?
No, they did not. They only described it as other crimes.
Okay. And in the jury instructions, did they put the specific underlying crime?
No. The falsifying business records was described in the jury instructions. There was some brief description of the New York State election law violation, but there was no description given of the choice of three crimes. There was a description given of falsifying business records, which was pretty ironic because it was falsifying business records to falsify business records.
Right. Falsify business records to intentionally falsify business records. It was a check. Donald Trump wrote a check for legal fees. And this other, this ambiguous other, this unnamed other, Braggs was trying to work off of it as though it was some sort of election tampering, right, or election interference, as though it were essentially what they were doing, which was to interfere in a political, politically interfere with what was going on with Donald Trump. So they're basically accusing Trump of what they themselves are doing.
So, and that's also a misdemeanor, right?
That should be, yeah.
So you have 2 + 2 = 6. Like if you commit 2 misdemeanors, you get to the felony statute of limitations, which they had to get or they could have never brought the case.
That's correct, but there's some more question marks regarding the statute of limitations. It's not cut and dry because the time that Donald Trump spent out of New York could be used to toll the statute of limitations. That was the ruling in the Court of Appeals Harvey Weinstein case. He argued that the time that he spent out of California should not have tolled it, out of New York, that is, in California, should not have tolled the time limitations, but the Court of Appeals ruled against him on that issue. So that's, I think, how they get around the statute of limitations problem in this case.
So see, they intentionally had to do these extraordinary novel legal maneuvers, right? They had to bend over backwards to try to create a scenario where they could charge Donald Trump with felonies, these additional felonies, 2 + 2 = 6, these additional felonies, this exaggeration, this obnoxious, ridiculous exaggeration for the purposes of political interference.
Election law case, a federal election law or state election law underlying crime?
Seemed like it was charged as both. When we got to the jury instructions, there's a violation of New York election law charged, but then there's one among the 3 charges underlying is an unspecified violation of federal election law.
And then the third one was tax violation, right?
Also unspecified.
So
both were unspecified because how do you prove that there was some election interference, or how do you prove there was an election involvement when it came to the Stormy Daniels situation where Donald Trump wrote a check for legal fees? It's absolutely extraordinary. But as you can see here, now here is the interview with Michael Cohen's attorney. So during this case, all this was revealed as well. And that was, in fact, that Michael Cohen was the one who was making all the payments.
He didn't believe the allegation of the Stormy Daniels story, that he thought the story would be embarrassing for Trump and especially for Melania, so he decided he would take care of it himself.
Absolutely, and that is contrary to what this guy testified to in court in New York yesterday.
Well, and what's not being talked about is your next paragraph, like the reason and his motivation for that. So if you could just kind of walk through that for the committee.
Yeah, obviously, when we started to talk about the NDAs, and this is the very first meeting at the Regency Hotel, when, by the way, Rudy Giuliani was not involved in representing Donald Trump at that time. Cohen testified that it was a conspiracy between Giuliani and Costello as of this date. Totally false. In any event, he also said that he didn't discuss the Stormy Daniels matter with us, and he certainly did. I specifically asked him because he kept on going back saying, I can't believe they're trying to put me in jail for these NDAs. So I said, Michael, tell me about the NDA. Tell me about Stormy Daniels. What did you do? He said, I got a call from a lawyer representing Stormy Daniels who represented that she was going to testify that Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen said, I didn't believe the allegation, but I knew that such an allegation would be terribly embarrassing. He said it would be embarrassing. He focused on Melania Trump. He said, I didn't want to embarrass Melania Trump. He said, that's why I decided to take care of this on my own. Right. I went back to that.
So that goes to the election fraud, right? They're trying to associate this here with the election fraud, that Trump was trying to pay off Stormy Daniels so that it wouldn't impact his election, right? And so these are all of the blurry, ambiguous dots that they were all trying to connect in these cases, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And then it was Cohen who took it all into his own hands to try to get back in the good graces of Donald Trump.
Several times. You did this on your own? On my own. Did Donald Trump have anything to do with it? No. Did you get the money from Donald Trump? No. From any of his organizations? No. From anybody connected to Donald Trump? No. Where did you get the money? I took out a HELOC loan against my property. I said, why would you do that? He said, I didn't want anybody to know where I got this money. I didn't want Melania to know. I didn't want my own wife to know because she's in charge, he said, of the Cohen.
So there you have it. Campaign finance interference based on a check that that Merchan would not allow his attorneys to talk about, would not allow Trump to enter into evidence. And anytime each time his attorneys tried to object the judge threatened them with contempt of court. So it's absolutely, this is just so dumb. I am so glad, I am so grateful that our fellow Americans could see through the complete nonsense. Now, we don't know what actually is going to be released in this, and as we already saw when it came to Joe Biden during his investigation, that he didn't have the memory, the mental capacity to know what all was going on with his documents, and so that was the pass. And then Joe Biden being, Joe Biden, the elitist, the arrogant person that he was, had to come out and say, that he had a good memory. So while they were trying to take him off the hook, he was putting himself back on the hook because, he didn't want to lose face. Absolutely extraordinary. Just absolutely incredible. But you guys let me know down in the comments what your guys' thoughts are and opinions on all of this. Are you just glad that it's going to all be over and then Donald Trump can then pursue all of this? Pam Bondi can go after these individuals and expose all this nonsense. Because for the next few weeks or however long it's going to take, the left is going to continue to call him a convicted felon. And, of course, they have some, the Ben & Jerry's is organizing some type of protest there in D.C. right before the inauguration. So it's going to be interesting to see what elements and connecting they're going to do to say there's an insurrection. But we'll have to keep our eye on that. That's down the road. But nonetheless, guys, I want to thank all of you across New Tech as well as here on YouTube for your guys' continued support. Below this video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to, so take advantage of that. If you're a Prime member or order frequently from Amazon, you can use my landing page down there, the link to my landing page, as your search while you're on Amazon to watch your movies and so forth. It helps out the channel. As well as if you're interested in a VPN, I've got that down below there. Trust Zone is my favorite. But guys, thank you so very much for your continued support. And appearing there on the screen, that'd be the channel icon for all of you watching on YouTube, of course. You guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.